Okay. Okay, everybody, we're going to get going in a couple of minutes. Give me a yes in the chat box if you can hear me and see me. Hey, Sherry. Hey, everybody. So we're streaming this live into the Escape the B&B Expedia and Booking.com Facebook group as well. And Marie, my lovely colleague, is managing the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group, then welcome. And if you're on the Zoom, then welcome to you too. So we're in two places at once. Isn't that neat? Isn't that clever? All right, so let me just post, if you don't have the workbook, I'm going to post the workbook link in here first for you. And then we'll get going in just a couple of minutes. Hello, Jane. Hello. All right, so there's the link to the workbook. Hello, Julie from Costa Rica. Hi, Sherry. So there's a link to the workbook. It's in the Zoom chat, and Marie is also posting it in the Facebook group as well underneath the video if you can see me in the Facebook group. So we're just about to go live. So I'm going to switch my video off while I'm doing the presentation because it makes the internet work better, but I'm still here and I'll come on at the end as well. So I'm going to switch my video off so that you can just hear me. So let me just go now. All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you in 2 seconds. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So let me know if you can hear my voice and see my screen. That would be the first thing. Let me know if you can see that, first of all. Wonderful. Wonderful. I appreciate you letting me know. Great. Yes, good. Wonderful. Because, you know, once we did do this and nobody could see my screen. Something went wrong. I don't know, but technology sometimes works like that. So thank you very much for letting me know. Thank you. Just check the chat box here. Great. Thank you. All right. So welcome to this live training. This really is the last live training of the decade. This is an encore from last week. A lot of people missed it last week, so we decided to do it again. And I've changed a few things around. And if you stay to the end as well, I have a gift for you because it's almost Christmas. So how to make 2020 your best year ever in your new or established B&B or in with me, Yvonne Halling, Bed and Breakfast Coach. So housekeeping. You've already let me know that you can see my screen, hear my voice. I'd like you to, if you're not watching on the Facebook, if you're in the Facebook group, don't turn your Facebook off. But if you're watching on the Zoom, then turn your Facebook off and turn off those distractions as well. And try to be fully present for yourself for about the next 50, 60 minutes, depending on how many questions you ask. I'll be here for you, devoting my time to you. So you devote your time to yourself as we go through this presentation. Pen and paper to take notes. If you have those to hand, that will be very useful. And we've put the link to the workbook in the Zoom chat and also in the Facebook group. So you should be able to get that workbook. But if you haven't got it and you're looking at this on your phone and you can't print it off, don't worry. Just get a pen and notebook out to take notes and that will be just fine. And then use the chat box to interact with me, okay? Because for two reasons. First, because it's better for me if you talk to me, but better for you, which is more important, because it means that you're participating in your own learning process and rather than just sitting there on the sidelines like a spectator, because learning is not a passive activity. It happens when we take part in it and when we engage in it. So when I ask you to comment in the chat box, please make sure that you do so that I know that you're there and you know that you're paying attention and you're getting the most out of this time. And if you have questions as we go through, if you're in the Facebook group, post the questions underneath the video. Marie will relay them to me and then I will come to them at the end. And if you post them in the Zoom chat as well, then I'll come to them at the end. And lastly, I just want to let you know that there's nothing for sale here, right? So you can relax and just take it all in and learn. I will be offering you the opportunity to find out how you can work with me and my team at the end. But right now, there's nothing for you to buy, okay? Okay, I'm getting your messages, Martine. I am, and I'm so glad to see you, Natalia, as well. Thank you. Great. Okay, just checking the chat box. Great, fantastic. So I am going to ask you some questions first. I'd like to know a bit about you before we start. So let me just see if I can bring up the poll. Okay, onto the screen now. There should be a poll. If you're in the Facebook group, I will give you separate instructions. Okay, so I want to know where you are. Number one, where are you at in your B&B journey? So if you're in the planning and not yet bought a property stage, then put number one in the Facebook group or tick the box on the Zoom screen here. If you're in the planning, but you've bought your property but you haven't opened, in the Facebook group, put number two and then tick that box on the poll screen in the Zoom if you're on the Zoom. If you've opened within the last 1 to 2 years, that's number 3 in the Facebook group. And obviously tick that box on the Zoom screen. And if you're well established, that's number 4 in the Facebook group. And then if you're trying to sell, close or retire, that's number 5 as well. So just let me know where you are in your B&B journey so we know what we're talking about here. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes for you to complete the poll in the Facebook group. Just put 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, depending on where you're at. And on the Zoom screen, just tick the right box here. Okay, I'm just going to end the polling now then, okay? Okay, I'm going to share the results. Okay, so most of you are well established. Okay, great. A couple of you are trying to sell. But not many people here on the Zoom anyway, in the planning stages or not yet opened. Okay, great. Right. Okay, let me just close that poll. Right, can you see has the poll gone and you can see my screen? Can you just let me know? Has the poll gone? Fantastic, okay. Okay, thanks, Marie, thanks. Okay, great. Great. Okay, so I'm gonna first talk to established owners, okay, because most people are established on the call right now. So I'm going to ask you, how was your season this year? If it hasn't been so good this year, or your business is in any way challenging for you right now, then I just want to let you know that it's not your fault. And if you've tried other marketing tactics and that hasn't worked, that's not your fault either, because there's a lot of confusing information out there, especially in this industry. So I'm just going to cut through the noise today and tell you that you can succeed and you can have the business and lifestyle that you want. You just need the right steps to take in the right order and explained by the right person. If you've ever had the feeling that the online travel agents are against you, you'd be right. They don't care about you. They've had a bit of a slap this year and they've been told to clean up their act. And that's why you may have seen a decline in bookings this year. A lot of people have been saying that. But make no mistake, they're going to be back with more creative ways to help you part with your money, which will likely be more for their benefit than yours. And that's not to say that the online travel agents don't have their place. They most certainly do. But you need to be aware that for them, it's all about the power, it's all about the control, and it's all about especially the money. But it's not like that for you. This is a lifestyle choice for you, and the money is only part of that, albeit an important part. You want a good quality of life and you want financial reward. So give me a yes in the chat box if you agree. Good quality of life and financial reward. Yes or no? Okay, but when the money's tight, it's pretty hard to have a good quality of life, right? And that's what we're here for, to combine the lifestyle that you want with the financial reward that supports your lifestyle. So for those who are maybe watching this and they're in the planning stages and not yet opened, let me just first of all address the issue of online travel agents for you and explain how they can help you and how they can become a problem for you. so that you can decide for yourself. So if you, in case you don't know who they are, they're mainly primarily Booking.com, Expedia and Airbnb, and a gazillion others as well. But these are the main ones. So first, the pros are, when you're new, if you list with them, they will almost certainly provide you with bookings very quickly. So if you're short on cash because you've invested all your money in the property or renovation, then by all means list your rooms on those platforms. They have enormous advertising budgets, and they'll do a good job of advertising your property and charge you a commission, which could be anything between 5% on Airbnb to around 15+% on Booking.com. Okay, so there are some cons, because everything in life is about balance, right? And where there's an upside, there's always a downside. And just as I mentioned, they have a tendency to act in their own interest, which is understandable. It's their business. They're in business too. So if you're not getting many bookings for whatever reason, they won't show your property when people are searching for your area, and they'll show properties that are getting more bookings because they'll get more commissions. And as I said just now, that's the only thing that matters to them. They'll also rob you of your ability to market to your guests afterwards, which is really, really important. It's crucial, in fact, to the viability of your business long term, and which we'll come to later. So how do they do this? Well, they don't let you have the email addresses of the guests, not the real ones anyway. And they won't allow you to find out important information about your guests before they come to stay, because they block that kind of communication on their system. So unless you make a determined effort to obtain email addresses so that you can build a relationship, they will control the relationship, and you'll find yourself over time as nothing more of a supplier of beds to their business. Now, I know that you don't plan on operating your dream business like this with a partner who doesn't really have your best interests at heart, but too many B&Bs fall into this trap where the online travel agents are concerned, and where they are the main source of bookings, and they end up feeling trapped and resentful. So let me know in the chat if you understand this important point about the online travel agents. They can be a good partner for you, but you need to be aware of how they operate. If you're new, I recommend you use them in the beginning to get yourself some clientele, and then make a decision to wean yourself off them as soon as you can, and to use them more strategically in a way that works for you. This is your business, and you deserve to run it on your own terms and not be dictated to by a partner who doesn't have your best interests at heart. Okay, thanks very much for the participation. Thank you. So my goal for this training, use them wisely. My goal for this training then is to help two types of people. For those who are at the beginning of their journey, I want to show you the right way to set it up and run it and grow it so that you don't fall into the common pitfalls that many newbies fall into and waste your time and money doing stuff that just doesn't work. And for those of you who are established already, which is the majority, I think, on this training, I'm going to show you what you've probably never been shown before, so that you can pivot into the lifestyle and business that you always wanted and break through your current income barrier into a whole new world of confidence, creativity, and fun for 2020 and beyond. Okay, so who is this not for? This is not for the person who thinks they've heard it all before. Maybe you have been to one of my live trainings before and you have heard some of this before, but did you do anything with it? Did you implement anything? Because information without implementation is worthless. It's also not for the person who's looking for a gazillion ways in which they're different and it won't work for them. So if you're that type of person, then you're wasting your time here. Okay, so with that said, here's what we're going to cover on this training today. I'm going to give you the roadmap to the business and life that you desire. I'm going to share with you my story. I'm going to share some success stories of some of the clients that we've worked with. And I'm also going to share with you an opportunity to take the next step if that feels like the right thing for you to do. So here's my big promise. The only way to start or grow your business is through a proven business system. And the only way to build that business system is by working with us. So write that down in your workbook or on your notebook if you're using a notebook. And let me just tell you, I know that this is a big claim, and you might think to yourself, well, how does she know that? So I'm going to tell you how I know that. Okay, so here we go. In 2000, I opened a B&B myself in the Champagne region of France as a hobby while my husband was traveling a lot with his glamorous job. It's a little champagne company that you might have heard of called Moet and Chandon. I was home alone with our two little girls and quite honestly a little bit bored. So we bought a big house, we renovated it, and we turned it into a little B&B with 2 rooms just as a hobby for me. But everything changed in 2004 when my husband lost that job. We closed the B&B, we rented out our home in France, and we moved back to the UK in search of new opportunities. We started a business importing champagne from our friends back in France, and we set it all up online as an online business. We spent a fortune on a website, online shop, back-end admin system, and all the paraphernalia to manage our new online business. And we also spent a fortune on coaching and mentoring and gurus on how to make the thing work. Meanwhile, we were ploughing through our savings and our redundancy money at the rate of knots while we tried to figure it all out. But to be perfectly honest with you, coming from a corporate background with all the associated thinking patterns that we had, this new way of making money online was way above our heads and we really didn't understand it. So that business slowly died. And we started a new business, doing corporate champagne events, tastings and gifts, and mostly with banks and financial institutions around South Manchester in the UK where we were living at the time. So you can imagine what happened in the crash of 2008, right? We lost that business and all our money had gone. And by now, my husband was in a state of deep depression. He'd gone from having a prestigious job with a big fat salary and all the benefits you'd expect from a company like Moet, including free champagne, to being completely incapable of supporting his family. In 2009, we cashed in our pensions, which was our last pot of money, while we tried to figure out what the heck to do next. And the final straw came in September 2009, when our rented house in the UK was destroyed by a fire. So now we were homeless. A friend offered us a caravan, and we lived in that caravan for 4 months. And while we huddled around our little Christmas tree in the caravan in December 2009, wondering what on earth had happened to us, we decided to move back to our home in France as the tenants had moved on, because I knew if all else failed, I could reopen the B&B. So in January 2010, we borrowed some money from family and we moved back to France. By this time, my husband was in a terrible state, emotionally and financially, and had pretty much checked out. But now we're back home in France and we're starting to rebuild our lives, but then we couldn't pay the gas bill. So that was cut off. We were boiling water to wash. And then the final straw came one day when I answered a knock at the door to find the bailiffs there with papers to repossess our home. I don't know if you've ever had one of those moments where you think to yourself, I can't go on like this. On that day, it felt like my whole life had fallen apart, like the bottom had dropped out of my world. And it was somehow up to me and only me to piece it all back together again for myself and for my family. But how? I worked out that I needed to make 50,000 euros that year to keep my home and provide for my family. I'd never made more than 10,000 in the past from my B&B, and I was clueless on how to make 50,000. I started asking around other B&B owners in the area what they were doing, but they weren't making any money either. So I very quickly realized that they were clueless too. It was absolutely desperate. But have you ever heard this? That when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I went on the internet and I started researching, trying to learn everything I could about business and marketing. You see, I already knew how to do B&B, but what I didn't know was how to be in business. And then one night in March 2010, I was listening to yet another one of these internet marketing and business marketing gurus at the time, and all of a sudden, light bulbs started to go off in my head. For the first time, I could clearly see a way to make my B&B work, to make the money I needed to keep my home and put food on the table. Finally. Now, I'd love to tell you that from that moment on, it was all plain sailing. But you and I both know that change is difficult, and I struggled. I struggled with learning the technical stuff and the marketing strategies, but my biggest obstacle was what was going on in my head. Because I had to learn how to sell and how to ask for the money, something I'd never been taught how to do. I had to learn how to build and run a real business. I hadn't learned how to do this. And through trial and error, lots of mistakes and wrong turns, by the time we closed for Christmas on December the 20th, I had made 49,875 euros. I hadn't quite reached my goal of making 50,000, but I was happy enough, I can tell you. And then something really weird and unexpected happened. On New Year's Eve at around 6 o'clock in the evening, I got a phone call from two couples who wanted 2 rooms and dinner for that night. We were closed, but guess what? I said yes. And because of that booking, that meant that I had made 51,195 euros in total for that year. And that night, as we partied into the early hours of the morning, bringing in the new year with our guests, knowing that I had reached my goal, something changed in me forever. And the following year, I made 103,495 euros with just 4 rooms and no online travel agents. I hope that you're not in a situation like I was, where you're about to lose your home. And I hope and I pray also that you never have to experience the struggle and pain I went through to overcome my own negative thinking patterns and unconscious beliefs about myself. You know, people in this industry put way too much emphasis on the experience at the property, like how to make a great breakfast and what type of sheets to buy, etc. But they never teach you anything about how to run a real business or the attitude and the mindset required. This means that newbies often don't understand business at all, or are totally unaware of the changes that need to happen within themselves to make the dream business come to life, and established owners are often left wondering what the heck happened when it inevitably goes wrong. And these are the ones who are suffering in silence, pretending that they're okay when they're not, and often feeling ashamed of their perceived failure. So let's talk about you and your business now, because over the past almost 7 years now that I've been helping others just like you, I have found that there are just 4 key principles you need to master to start, run and grow a business or an inn that is rewarding and fun. So give me a yes in the chat box if you're ready now for key principle number 1. Great. And if you're in the Facebook group, give me a yes in the chat there. Great. Fantastic. Okay, let's move on then. Key principle number 1 is strategy. And this first principle is especially important for those in the planning stages, and if you're established and you're not attracting the guests that you really want to welcome. When I had to find a way to grow my business or lose my home, I had to take a serious look at what we were doing and why we couldn't seem to make more than 10 grand a year. What I realized is that between myself and my husband, we had so much value in terms of our local knowledge, because we'd been living there in Champagne for many years, and my husband's expertise on Champagne itself. So I decided that we would market ourselves as welcoming international guests who want to discover the hidden gems of Champagne. And to be honest with you, I felt pretty insecure about sticking my neck out and making these claims in the beginning. And even though we were loaded up on expertise and value, but we just hadn't recognized it and valued it within ourselves. Of course, I had to shift my identity into the person I was claiming to be every time I felt my old self, who believed she had no value, surface. And that was pretty much every day. But I persisted because I had to. And over time, the right guest showed up and started asking for extra products and services like tours of the area and to be introduced to people and places that the ordinary tourist would never have access to. This meant I could charge more because I was no longer an ordinary B&B like all the other 300 odd in my area, but a specialist serving a specific group of people with my own specific service that they couldn't get anywhere else. If you take nothing else away from this training today, your goal at whatever stage you're at should be to find a way to position yourself as an expert or specialist, because that's where all the money and the fun is. There's no money in the commodity end of the market. The money and the fun is in the expert and specialist end of the market. So, as I say, if you take nothing else away from this training today, make sure that you find a way to position yourself as an expert or specialist. So here's why owners don't do this, right? Because they don't most of the time. They don't get specific on their ideal guests and market solely to them, because they believe that if they narrow down their target market, they're going to lose bookings and be even more financially strapped than they already are. They don't know, or they don't think that they have any unique value because they haven't done any self-inquiry to find it. It's like mining for gold. And the idea of niching brings up all kinds of beliefs about themselves, about how they're not good enough to be this person, to be that specialist or expert. And sometimes they think that my success is location specific, where it's okay for her, but I don't live in Champagne, so I can't do that. They think that their delicious breakfasts and beautiful property will sell itself, and that it's not about them, and they hide behind their property. So let me show you now how those beliefs can be turned on their head. This is Laura from His Majesty's B&B in Ohio. She's been running her business there with her husband Norm and their 3 girls, pictured here, since 2012. And in the beginning, it was good, as it usually is. But recently, there had been a lot more hotels and Airbnb rentals opening up. Give me a yes in the chat or in the Facebook group if you can relate. She didn't want to turn to the online travel agents, and so she looked for alternative help, and she invested to work with us. And following the strategy process that I've just shared with you, she decided to position herself as an expert on her local wineries in her area. And she was already offering wine tours, but she wasn't claiming her place, stating her claim, if you like, putting her flag in the ground as an expert in the eyes of her guests for her wine tours. And within just over a month of working with us, she increased her average monthly bookings from 18 to 31, and her wine tours, which had drastically reduced, she booked more in 1 month than the previous 7 months combined. And here's what she says. She said, Yvonne, I did some investing, I think she means investigating today, on how much our reservations increased since beginning this great program. From the 1st of January to July the 3rd, it was 128, which averaged out to just over 18 a month. Then she ran a report to show how many bookings since working with us, 1st of August to September the 8th, 31 bookings. And then she says her wine tours had drastically declined, and she's booked more in the last month than she had in the first 7 months. So the truth is that the more specific you get on who your guests are, what they're looking for, and then positioning yourself as the obvious choice for them, the more you're going to massively increase your confidence, your happiness levels, and your bottom line. And that translates to a better experience for your guests. So give me a yes or a no in the Facebook group or in the Zoom chat if you're with me on this principle, this key principle so far. Let me have a look here. Okay, good, great. So write down in your workbook or your notebook what you're committing to doing to elevate your position in the eyes of your guests so that you can charge higher prices in 2020. Because if there's one thing that's going to be happening more and more in 2020 is the ever increasing commoditization of the market. So there is a huge opportunity for you to position yourself as an expert if you haven't already staked that claim. An expert in the eyes of your guests. This does not mean more study. It doesn't mean going back to school. It just means recognizing the value that you have in yourself and then putting that out there for your guests and your potential guests. Okay, who's ready for key principle number 2? Yes, give me a yes. Okay, cool. Okay, key principle number 2 is structure. This key principle is important for those just starting out and also for established owners who feel that they may be working too hard for too little money, and you're finding that the resentment is already creeping in or it's already crept in, right? Be honest about this. It's a thing, resentment in this industry. Back in the day in my own B&B, I thought that I had to be there 24/7 for my guests, tending to their every whim, letting them check in whenever they wanted, have breakfast whenever they wanted. I let them call the shots and just be there for them. And as I began my journey to my first goal, I quickly realized that this was not the way to go. I was becoming exhausted with all of the people pleasing and the stress of putting myself last. So instead, I decided that I would schedule when I would be around for my guests and when I could be off duty every day. So I created a check-in window for guests to arrive, and I would also serve breakfast within a specific time frame that suited me. Again, I felt guilty about doing this in the beginning. But what I found was that when I communicated everything to my guests up front, they were happy, and that made me happy too. I also realized that I couldn't spend all my time doing the laundry and cleaning the toilets either. I needed to pay someone else to do that so that I could spend my time marketing and promoting my business, which only I could do. When I put an ad in the local shop for a cleaner, I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to pay them. At that time, I wasn't even making enough money to pay my mortgage and my bills, but I knew I had to get over myself and do it. Otherwise, I'd be stuck on the hamster wheel forever. So why don't owners get help? This is a big one in this industry. They believe that they can't afford it. They believe that they can do it all themselves to save money, but the money they save is false economy because it takes them away from marketing and promoting, so their business cannot grow. And they believe also that they can do it better themselves when really just a bit of good training and positive reinforcement will have someone else doing it just as well as they do. And they also think, and this is huge as well, that it's somehow a badge of honor to work hard and do it all. And they feel guilty when they're quote unquote skulking off. They tell themselves stories like, you can't get good help around here. Let me show you now why those beliefs are not true. This is Amanda. She came to us when she was completely burned out from her business, from doing everything herself, and dealing with unsuitable guests and negative reviews had pushed her to breaking point, despite her almost 30 years experience in this industry. She told me that she'd even got to the stage where she dreaded the guests arriving, and it took a very bad experience with one particular guest to drive her to finally seek help. She'd watched a training just like the one you're watching now, and she decided to act. And it was difficult and slow in the beginning because she was so beaten down. She had very little self-confidence and self-belief left. But slowly, over the course of 2 seasons, she doubled her business. She got her self-respect back and she was loving her business again. And the confidence she gained in the process has been priceless. And Amanda has now moved on from her B&B. Here's what she said. She joined a free masterclass just like this one in January 2017, signed up with Yvonne and doubled her business, freed up her time. Stopped resenting my guests with all the freebies I gave them. I now charge and my guests love me for it. She says, my business shot through the roof. Fantastic. Okay. The truth is that when you're tired and you're not taking care of yourself, how on earth can you take care of anyone else and give your guests a good experience? When you're tired, it will show. It will show no matter how big your smile is. When you're spending your time literally with your head down the toilets, who's getting the guests? No one is. And that's why you turn to online travel agents. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, my situation's different. And it more than likely is. But I can guarantee you one thing, that when you decide that enough is enough of working too hard for too little money and being at the mercy of online travel agents, you'll find a way. And the path, it will just open up for you in ways that you just can't imagine from where you're standing right now. Just like it did for Amanda and for so many of our clients, and just like it did for me too. So write down in your workbook or your notebook what you're committed to changing in 2020 to become the person you need to be to command the respect that you deserve. If you're feeling resentful in any way, you're feeling tired, but you're not admitting it, you're trying to cover it up, what you're going to change in 2020, write something down for yourself in your notebook or in the workbook if you've got it. Okay, fabulous. So let me know in the comments if you're ready for key principle number 3. Let me know, yes or no. Let me check here. Let me see what's going on. Yes, yes, yes. Ready, ready, ready. Great, great. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your interaction here. Okay, so key principle number 3 is systems. Now, this key principle is especially important for established owners who've reached a ceiling, an income ceiling, and can't seem to break through it, and for those who know that they're too reliant on online travel agents but can't see a way to change that. Systems is crucial. When I was struggling to pay the bills and keep my home, I told you I had no idea about business. I knew how to do B&B, welcoming guests, making great breakfasts and keeping a clean house. But I had absolutely no idea about running a business. There's a huge distinction between the two here. And the class in school on key business principles had completely eluded me, or maybe it didn't exist. But either way, I was clueless. And when I was in a corporate job, I didn't need those skills, because whatever I did or I didn't do in my job, and even when I was sick, I'd still get my paycheck at the end of the month. And that gave me a kind of unconscious entitlement attitude. I didn't know it at the time, but my job also taught me to keep my mouth shut, keep my head down, to avoid office politics, and to avoid upsetting co-workers, and even to avoid getting fired. That kind of environment often keeps us playing very small so that we stay safe. It kind of closes down our creativity and it closes down our hearts too. So when I came to my senses, I realized that I would have to start promoting and marketing myself to complete strangers, especially online. And that scared the heck out of me. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to take responsibility. I resisted it for the longest time until the bailiffs came, and then I had to change. I had to learn new skills they don't teach you in educational establishments like schools, skills you have to pay for. Learning how business works was a huge turning point for me. I needed to learn how to reach out and attract the guests I decided that I wanted to welcome, what to say to them, how to position myself as the only choice for them. I needed to learn how to build relationships with them as soon as they booked, so they couldn't wait to come and meet me. I became a kind of celebrity for them, and that massively elevated my status in their eyes. And at first, of course, I was really nervous about not living up to their expectations, but I needn't have worried about that. That was just my own old beliefs, again, from the past, about not being good enough. I learned how to make offers to my past guests to keep the conversation going after they'd left and invite them to come back. I didn't want to do that either, because I didn't want to bug people. I didn't believe that people wanted to hear from me, but again, I was proved wrong. I realized that it's not my job to assume what people will or won't do, and just to give them opportunities and let them decide. I learned that my database is my most precious asset, and I focus daily on building it with guests, past, present, and future. And all of these new skills, as I learned them, allowed me to build a business engine that could work without me constantly working for it And that gave me the kind of freedom and peace of mind that I hadn't experienced since my husband lost his job in 2004. It gave me and my family our lives back. So why don't owners invest and learn about business and invest in themselves? Well, they think that running a B&B is easy, nothing to it, right? Welcoming people, making a nice breakfast. They think that loving people is enough. It will be fun, fun, fun all the way. They don't know what they don't know. And often by the time they find out that they lack essential business skills, it's either too late or they feel too ashamed to admit it to themselves. And if they had a job previously and they never had to invest in learning anything, any training they needed was all free and laid on for them. So investing money to learn is an alien concept to many of them. And they don't understand the power of investing in themselves and why they need to do it, because they've never experienced it before. So let me show you how these beliefs are holding you back while you waste time and money trying to figure it out all for yourself. Sure, if you waste money, you can always get more money, but if you waste your time, you can never get that back. Luckily for Katia and John, they realized that time with their precious children while they were growing up was the most precious thing in the world. So one day they decided they'd had enough of their hectic life in London. So they decided to buy a rundown hotel in a tourist town in the west of Scotland and move themselves and their 3 children to a new life. They spent a fortune on renovating the hotel to get it up to a good standard that they were happy with, but they were reluctant to invest anything in learning how to make it work. But they soon learned that the season was short and most of the other hotels close in the winter and the owners take part-time jobs. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. So they took a decision to work with us. And there were many wobbly moments during that first year as they adjusted to life in a rural community without all of the support systems that they'd enjoyed back in London. And they also needed to adjust to being responsible for their own paycheck and drop the entitlement attitude we all develop when we have jobs and get in touch with their own creativity. But they made it. And in their first year, they went from 0 with no experience to £102,000. Here's what Katia says. A massive part of our success is, of course, down to you, Yvonne, not just your program, but your emotional support and guidance. We do quite a lot of emotional support here. Big thank you to Marie also, who's given me buckets of advice and lots of techie tips. Marie is a superstar. This program and this group are bloody incredible. So, the truth is that without knowing how to attract guests yourself, without using online travel agents and sell more of your products and services to those guests to enhance their stay and make consistent offers to past guests so they come back, you don't really have a business. You have a glorified hobby. And if you're relying on your B&B business for your income, your only source of income, that is a very vulnerable place to be, especially in these changing and challenging times. So I want you to write down in your notebook or your workbook, whichever you've got handy, which one of these three key systems you're going to focus on to start building a real business engine in 2020. Write that down. Which one do you feel you most need? Is it a system to attract new guests? Is it a system to sell more to those booked-in guests? You know, some of the stuff you're giving away for free, guests will pay for sure. Or is it a proper system to make consistent offers to past guests? Nobody wants to do any of this when they start working with us because they don't know how to do it. But once they get the hang of it, it unleashes a creativity that they've never seen before. And it's so freeing. It's like letting the cat out of the bag. Okay, let me know in the chat box if you're ready for the final key principle. Let me know yes or no, or in the Facebook group, let me know if you're ready for the final key principle. Cool. Okay, final key principle is scale. Now, this principle applies mainly to established owners and even to those who want to sell and move on, in fact. Because you can create more value in the sale of your property or you can take this value with you. And as my journey progressed and my income stabilized and I was no longer feeling desperate about money, I realized that I had built an engine or a vehicle for anything that I wanted to create. I could literally add anything I wanted to my business. So me, I love writing. So the first thing I did was write a book. It was called How to Survive and Thrive Living in a Foreign Country. I've lived in the United States, I've lived in Japan, I've lived in France, and I thought my experiences there could help others. So I got some copies printed off and I sold many of them at the B&B, online and on Amazon. Then I wrote 2 more books about running a B&B, and they're on Amazon, and every month Amazon sends me a little paycheck for royalties for sales of these books. Nice, huh? My husband, recovering from his depression, wrote The Insider's Guide to Champagne, which is all of his knowledge about the Champagne region, about the people and about the drink. We sold tons of these at the B&B. They're also on Amazon. And he also noticed that, well, when we were running the B&B, we also noticed that people were appreciating our local knowledge, and the champagne tours were becoming really popular. So we turned that into a business in its own right. And even though I closed my B&B in February 2017, and we now live in the UK, My Man in Champagne is my husband's tour business, and it's still a thriving business. And my husband's just finished creating, he creates private champagne brands for private individuals and businesses, and he's just finished creating an online course called My Champagne Expert. This knowledge about business can take you anywhere. If you can switch your thinking from running a B&B to running a business, it will totally shift your perspective on what you can take, on what you can create going forwards. But why don't owners think like this? Why don't they add more revenue streams? Because they're too busy in the day-to-day low value tasks. So there's no time for creative thinking. And they think the B&B itself is the business, and they don't create a vehicle for growth, an engine, if you like. They don't realize the extra value they have within them because they've never been shown it. They've never been shown how to access it or to profit from it. You see, the truth is that once you focus on creating a business model that works, you can add anything you want to it, whether it's related to your B&B or not. And once you've mastered these skills, they can take you anywhere you want to go with anything you want to create. It's freedom and it's fun, and you'll never go hungry. Here's what we did with Keltie and Stan Masters. They run Back to Nature Retreat in Alberta in Canada. They're passionate about photography and wildlife conservation. And they spend much of their spare time outside taking photos of wild animals and birds in their area. They love to welcome guests who appreciate the natural landscape, and they can often sell out their rooms when a rare flock of birds pay a visit. They sell their photography at the B&B, but they wanted to do more for the conservation of the wildlife that they love so much. So we came up with a plan to turn their wildlife photography into fabric and then launch a clothing line called Unique Wearable Works of Art. And when I spoke to Keltie earlier this year, she told me that they were in over 15 stockists in Canada. And the best part is that they're able to send a portion of their profit to the wildlife orphans that they support. So here's Keltie on the left, modeling her unique wearable works of art in a top she's wearing. And this is me on the right in my yoga pants, which she very kindly sent to me. So here's what Keltie says. She tripled her business. She said, "Thank you for all your wonderful support. Your encouragement and unique ideas have helped us grow in ways we never dreamed of before. We've had business coaches before, but never one as good as you. You make such a difference in people's lives." And she also says, "I contemplated Yvonne's course for over 6 months before deciding to make the investment. The biggest regret was not doing it sooner. She knows her stuff and our revenue tripled." Amazing. So what could you create if you were in possession of the skills of running a real business and creating that business vehicle, that engine, if you like, that gave you the freedom and time to let your creativity come out? Remember, information without implementation is worthless. So let me ask you a question first to those in, I'm going to ask you several questions now. For those in the planning stages or just starting out, if you followed what I showed you in key principle number 1, and found a way to position yourself online as a specialist or expert for the guests you want to welcome, do you think you'd have a better chance of succeeding, yes or no? For those just in the planning stages or just starting out. And for those at the established owners who feel trapped by the online travel agents or can't break through an income ceiling, do you think you could, if you could find a way to pivot, do you think you could find a way to pivot into being a specialist with help and guidance, yes or no? And let me ask the newbies again. If you followed what I showed you in key principle number 2 and made a decision to get help from the beginning, instead of getting your head stuck in the toilet trying to save money, do you think you'd be able to deliver an exceptional experience your guests couldn't get anywhere else, yes or no? Newbies. And for our established owners who are doing everything themselves, do you think if you got some help and decided to treat yourself better, focusing on becoming the king or queen of your domain and giving your guests an exceptional experience they'd never find in a crappy old Airbnb rental, do you think you'd feel more certainty about your future, yes or no? Cool. Next question for newbies and established owners. If you got the guidance and support that you need to learn the 3 crucial business systems in key principle number 3, so you had a real business you control right from the beginning, this is for newbies, do you think you could save a lot of wasted time and money, newbies? And for established owners, if you got the guidance and support you need to learn those essential business systems, do you think you could reduce your reliance on OTAs and create certainty of income for yourself? Established owners, yes or no? Okay, and finally, if you're established and you're looking for a way to build value or sell and move on, if we showed you how to implement key element number 4, do you think that you could create something? Do you think you could come up with something and create something new that you could either sell with your B&B, which would add value that no one else has got, or take with you? Do you think you could do that, yes or no? Yeah, of course you could, right? Okay, who's feeling excited about what we just talked about? Who's feeling a bit overwhelmed? Because we did cover a lot there, didn't we? It was a lot. So, okay, great, thank you. So let me just check the chat box here, make sure that, okay, so I'm gonna just, before I tell you about our program, I'm just gonna check the chat here. Okay, good, everybody's excited. Great, okay. Great, okay. So I'm going to spend a few minutes now explaining how we can help you to implement these key principles into your business, whatever stage you're at. Because remember, information without implementation is worthless, right? We know this. So Bed and Breakfast Business Transformation Program is a 6-month program delivered to you 100%. Oops, let me just get this to go. It's delivered 100% online with over 100 step-by-step video tutorials, templates and examples to follow, plus technical support, a private Facebook group, accountability and live coaching calls. Excuse me. In month 1, excuse me, I was going to take a sip of water. Oh dear. In month 1, we work on your online presence, including your website and social media, branding, messaging, promise, and positioning, so that you attract only the guests you decide that you want to welcome on your terms. In month 2, we will cover how you deliver on that online promise offline at your property, so you take great care of your guests, your team, your finances, and yourself. Then in month 3, you'll be ready for the first of your essential business systems, where you'll learn how to build a relationship with your booked-in guests, offer them more of your products and services that you've created especially for them, creating more revenue per guest. And then in month 4, we'll move on to your second crucial business system, where you'll be making an offer to your past guests to attract repeat business, to invite your guests to come back. And then in month 5, we'll move on to your third business system, where you'll learn how to create content to attract new ideal guests into your world on a daily basis in the form of a free guide, blog, social media, and videos, and build your database. And then finally, in month 6, we'll wrap it all up by uncovering additional revenue streams for your business, so you're not completely reliant on guests. Unleash your creativity and maximize your business vehicle, whether you want to sell and move on and add value to your business, or whether you want to stay and just have more fun. So let me show you some of the people who've had a chance to go through this whole system with us. This is Caroline. She runs Lancombe Country Cottages in the UK. She'd been running it for just over 5 years, and she was doing okay, but she'd reached a ceiling and was beginning to get a bit burned out. She'd had an unpleasant incident with an employee which had knocked her confidence down. She also hadn't had a holiday in a long time. Since we worked together, she's had a massive boost in confidence and has dealt with some difficult situations and guests in a completely different way. She's become a bit of a celebrity for her guests, with a strong online presence and following now. She's restructured her property loan. She has attracted several new partnerships with local businesses, bringing her more revenue and more exposure. She has peace of mind and certainty and solid self-belief in herself and her business. Then there is June and Marc Hershberger from Heimat country in Iowa. June started working with us at the end of last year and had been doing pretty well, but was never really sure if she was doing it right. She was working really hard, but kind of felt like there was something missing. But within 6 months of working with us, she increased her business by 28% this year, in 2019. She hired more help, took time off for herself, something she hadn't been able to do in a long time. And in her words, she became a new person, calm, relaxed, and in control of her business and her future. And probably my most favorite story ever is about the wonderful Marie Davies of Lehmann House B&B in St. Louis, Missouri. After 27 years of running her business, she'd reached a ceiling and she didn't know what to do next. She'd become tired and resentful, and she needed a new perspective. During her first year working with us, she had 8 record months. She loved our program so much, she wanted to help other owners and become a coach alongside me. So she began her training in June 2017, and since June 2018, after graduating, she's been a huge asset to our clients, and she coaches and mentors with compassion and humor. Our clients love her, and I'm really so proud and grateful to have her alongside me on the team. I just love this woman. And do you know what? 2019 is her best year in 30 years. She just keeps on breaking records, despite over 2,000 Airbnb rentals invading her area. Amazing, right? So I want to go back and make sure that you know that this is who this is for. It's for ambitious newbies just starting out, or those who are established and ambitious to grow before they sell and move on or stay. So you might be thinking, well, I can't do this right now because, you know, it's the high season, I don't have the time, or it's the low season, I don't have the money. And here's why that's a mistake that will hold you back. The truth is that the right time is always now. There's a reason that you're here on this training with me now, and many of the others who registered didn't show up. And that's because you're looking for something. And the thing that you're looking for is right here. So let me ask you this. What would it mean for you just starting out if you could start your dream business off on the right foot so that you don't waste time and money doing stuff that doesn't work? To not fall prey to the online travel agencies and their tricks and give up your business, hand it over to them because you just didn't know any different. And you built a rewarding business quickly that you and your guests love. What would it mean to you if you could do that and you're just starting out? And for established owners, what would it mean for you to add at least an extra 25% to your income in the next 6 to 12 months? What would it mean for you to double or even triple your business like Keltie did in the next 6 to 12 months? And how would it feel to reduce your reliance on the OTA so you didn't feel so trapped by them? And to give you certainty of income and peace of mind, like Amanda. How would that make you feel? And for those wishing to sell, how would it be that you could create a brand new revenue stream for yourself that didn't depend on getting more guests, but you could either sell with your business, which would add more value to it, or take it with you? How would that make you feel? So for our established owners, fast forward to December 2020, 1 year from now, what would that look like if you don't change and do something different? And for newbies, what's at stake here? Are you sinking your life savings into this new venture without any certainty that it will work out, without any business skills whatsoever? Think about it. You can always get more money, but you can never get your time back. When it's gone, it's gone. So here's my invitation to you today. If you want to take the next step, I'm offering you the opportunity to work with me and Marie and our team over the next 6 months to implement and master the 4 key principles that I've just showed you in your B&B or inn, so you too can make the money you want to make while enjoying life on your terms. You will have access to the Bed and Breakfast Business Transformation Program, online learning center, technical support, private Facebook group, accountability, and live coaching calls with myself and Marie. This is your opportunity if you're ready to take the next step. So I expect you're wondering how to join and what your investment is. So let me tell you now that this is by application only, because we want to make sure that you're the right kind of person who's in exactly the right place, who's going to do the work. Because quite honestly, it's no fun for us to work with people who procrastinate and don't get any results. We tried it and it didn't work. You'll have 3 levels to choose from, depending on what stage you're at, how much hand-holding and personal time with us you need, and what your budget is. Places are limited because we work closely with all of our clients, no matter what level you decide to join at. And that's a huge investment of our time. So we can only take a limited number of clients at any one time. And at the lowest level, your investment starts at $3.97 per month. So here's what you need to do now. If you're sitting there thinking, I really want to know more about this, I really want to know how I can get started, here's what you need to do now. First of all, you need to book a private call with me, and I'll give you the link in a second. And then you fill out an application form. I'll ask you some questions. Then you show up to the call, and then I will help you to make the right decision for you. This is not a sales call. This is more like an interview, if you like, where you can interview me and I will interview you. And if we're a good fit, I'll offer you a place. And if we're not a good fit, I won't. We don't want to take anybody who's not in the right frame of mind or that isn't open to change. So I'm going to give you the link now to the, there we go. So this is the link. I'll just put this in the, let me just see if I can get out of here and get the link for you. And I can put that in the chat box. So this is how you book a call with me on this link. So let me go to Zoom now. Oops, just go back here. Right. Okay. So when you get to this page, there we go. I'm going to put this in the chat now. Where's the chat box? There we go. To all panelists and attendees. Okay, there's the link to book a call in the chat box now. Marie, if you could put that in the Facebook group, that would be great. If you could get it from there, that would be amazing. Otherwise, we'll pop it in there in a second. When you get to this page, there'll be several options for you. It's the first one. Application for Bed and Breakfast Business Transformation Program is the first one that you need to book on, and then it will take you to a scheduler where you can pick a time in your time zone. You can choose a time from in your time zone, and then you will be taken to the application form where you answer some questions, and I will, let's just see if I can get this up now. And then, oops. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now, I think. And I will put my video back on. Okay, here we are. Okay, lovely. So I will now take questions, and I have a gift for you as well. for staying to the end. I'm going to pop a little gift in the chat box at the end when I've answered your questions. So let me know your questions. Thanks, Marie. Thanks very much. What are your questions? What questions do you have? Let me get back up here. Martine, thank you. You're such a great student. Okay, we have a question here. Yes. Lynn's asking, I'm thinking of making a change to a different B&B. Would you be able to give advice? Absolutely. Absolutely, Lynn. Book a call with me and let's chat and see what you're thinking, see if I can help you. Best thing to do is to book a call with me. As I say, this is not a sales call. This is more like an interview to check whether we're right for each other and to see whether I can help you. And if I can't help you, I won't offer you a place on the program, and I will point you to something else or somewhere else or somebody else who can help you. So just don't be afraid to book a call with me, because I'm very gentle. So, you know, as I say, I'm not going to sell you on anything. It's up to you if you want to buy. It's completely different that you may have experienced before, because I'm only interested in the people who are ready to invest in themselves and who are going to do the work, and we'll make that decision together on the call. So, okay, Marie, thank you. Okay, quick question. Natalia, hello, Natalia. For those in a transition, so may or may not continue running B&B, would you be able to advise on any average transfers? Absolutely, absolutely. We've done that with Keltie. And my husband's done that as well. So, and I've done it myself. I transitioned from, you know, running a B&B to running bed and breakfast coach. So, you know, we have lots of skills about transitioning out of the business into something new. So go ahead and book yourself in, Natalia. Excellent. Thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay. So we've just gone past the hour. I'm conscious of your time. So if you have any questions, pop them in the questions box or in the Facebook group. If you're watching this in the group, pop your questions there and we'll come back and answer them later, or Marie will answer them for you. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you. So are you. So yeah. Okay, always learn something when I listen to you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you. Well, I've been doing this a long time, and you know, got a pretty good idea what we're doing here now. Between myself and Marie and the rest of our team, you know, we do a pretty good job here. We do a really good job. So you're in safe hands with us for sure. Can I be your friend? Yes, you can. Yes, friend me on Facebook. Yes, friend me on Facebook. Yes, go ahead. All right, so as you're all here, the people who are here right to the end, I am going to give you a gift. Here's a little PDF on 5 fun ways to use video, okay? One of the things that we do in our program is we focus a lot on creating video. Video is a really hot marketing tool. So as you've stayed to the end, I am going to gift you with this little PDF on 5 fun ways. Actually, it's 6 ways because there's a bonus as well. 5 fun ways to use video in your marketing. So be my guest and just go ahead and download that. And Marie, if you want to put that in the group as well for anybody who's watching it in the Facebook group, that would be marvelous. As a special thank you for your time today, for giving up your time to spend with myself and Marie. We don't take that lightly. There's a gazillion other things you could be doing. So we want to just say thank you for that. I hope it's been useful for you. I'm going to close the webinar in a minute if there are no more questions. I'll just stay on for a couple more minutes. I think if there's one thing I could leave you with that would, you know, that I really would like to impress upon you is to make that distinction between doing B&B, i.e. delivering the service, and running a business. When you can differentiate between those two things and then focus on learning how to run a business, your life will change. I promise you that. Because the attitude and the mindset and the identity shift that comes with running a business rather than serving breakfast, which of course you have to do. You know, I'm not saying that you don't have to do that, but what I'm saying is that when you make the shift in your identity, the way you see yourself into a business owner from somebody who serves breakfast, your life will change. And if there's one thing I'd like you to take on board from this training, is to make that distinction for yourself and to feel what that distinction feels like, because your complete perspective on your business will shift. Let me know if that makes sense. Nobody wants to leave. It does look like that way, doesn't it? What else can I tell you? You know, there's so much I could share with you, but we'd be here all night. So the best thing to do is to book a call with me so that we can decide, you can decide whether or not this is right for you at this time. So, okay, right. So I had times confused. Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is, Marie. Yes, it is available later. Yes. Great, Natalia. Great. I think that would be a really good idea. From judging from what I know of you already, I think it would be a great idea for us to talk. But making, you know, I say it again, making the distinction between the service that you deliver and running a business, as soon as you make that distinction, then you focus your efforts on learning how to be a great business owner, it will change your life. It will totally change your life. Because it's all transferable to other businesses, just like, you know, Amanda's moved on from her business. A few of our clients have moved on from B&B. Once they've got the skills, they realize that they can do anything they want. It's so liberating, so liberating. Great. Okay, fantastic. So if there's no more questions, thank you. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being with us here tonight. Thanks, Marie, for handling the Facebook group. I will be in the Facebook group in a minute, and this recording will be here for us later in Facebook. Okay. All right. You're very welcome. Hello, Fleming. Nice to see you here. Wow, I haven't seen you for a long time. Okay, so I'm going to end the webinar now. Thanks for joining us once again. Have a lovely evening. Have a lovely day. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.